Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson along with Tony Sukalis and Tyler Waldrop coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Tonight, we're talking Bama in the NFL. Thank you for joining us. Let us know where you're coming from in the comment box. If you're listening on next date on our podcast, thank you for listening to our podcast. Plenty of ways to interact and connect with the BamaInsider.com staff. Monday nights is Bama in the NFL. Tuesday night, we're talking recruiting with Andrew Bones. So tons of coverage. And if you missed it, on BamaInsider.com, I just dropped some great nuggets on BamaInsider.com. To access those premium, you got to go to BamaInsider.com. Look for the free promo code, which is Roll Tide, to access those. Tons of nuggets just posted on BamaInsider.com. Great team stuff. What's up, fellas? How you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty well. Just another good Monday night.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Glad we're doing this again after last week. It was fun.
Yeah, here's the show outline. Here's how things will work tonight. I like to break it up into the 3-2-1 format. I think that's the best for these videos, these podcast features. Three things we learned: Marlon Humphrey and Josh Jacobs ranked inside the NFL top 100. No surprise. You also got. We're going to talk about the Washington football and what their new name could be. Probably the Rollskins or the Crimson Tide, right? Chance Warmack has opted out of the NFL, and looks like he's going to sit. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Two questions. Which wide receiver will score more touchdowns in 2020, Julio Jones or Amari Cooper? And which rookie will have the biggest season in 2020, right? So plenty of stuff to go over on BamaInsider.com. And I think a great place to start with is just talking about Marlon Humphrey. And he was recently ranked number 86 overall in the NFL Network Top 100. We'll start with Tony. Tony, what do you remember about Marlon Humphrey? What do you think about him now as he's in the NFL and the type of player that he has certainly become? I mean, top 100 in the NFL. Go ahead. Talk about Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, I mean, he's just everything you want in a cornerback. He's a playmaker. He can get physical. He's got size. I just thought, everything you saw from him in Alabama, it kind of seems like he's been able to do in the pros as well. It's no surprise either. I mean, he's been a star since he came. His dad was a Crimson Tide legend as well, and just a guy that is what a recruiting tool too for Alabama to have these elite cornerbacks now starting to come up. We talked about Eddie Jackson last show, and Marlon Humphrey too. You're seeing more and more of these Alabama players in the top 100, and it's no surprise because this is a guy that was a stud at Alabama, and he's continuing to be a stud in the NFL.
Yeah, I think, certainly Marlon Humphrey having tremendous success with the Ravens, a very good defense, made a magnificent run during last season. Tyler, Joshua Jacobs ranked number 72 overall. And the type of player that he was at Alabama, we should start there. And the type of player that he has become for the Las Vegas Raiders. It's still weird for me to say the Las Vegas Raiders. But talk about Josh Jacobs a little bit and just what you think of him right now as an NFL player. And then I want to go back to Tony because I know Tony covered him in college. So from an NFL perspective, what do you remember about Josh Jacobs or rather talk about the type of player he is in the NFL, Tyler?
I think the most impressive thing is, he's had one season in the league. He's ranked number 72 by his peers. And I'm not shocked. It took him 1 year to crack the top 100. Marlon Humphrey took him a lot longer. This is his first year. And Josh Jacobs, there are reports that he's playing hurt. If you watch the Raiders play last year, they had Darren Waller at tight end, but they had nobody at receiver. That's why they went on and got Henry Ruggs. Josh Jacobs was basically the offense. That was basically what the other defenses were scheming for, especially down the stretch. He's hurt. He's still a workhorse for them week in and week out. And I think you saw what he could have been if Alabama had wanted him to kind of take that workhorse role. If he had been the guy, Alabama never needed him to step up, but every time he got the ball, he kind of delivered. And I think that's what he would have been in college had he needed to be that, had he needed to take on that workload.
Tony, you covered him at the college level. He was a beast, but he has a great story. Kind of talk about his story and what you remember about Josh Jacobs at the college level.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is a guy that really came from nothing and really a humble kid and was able to kind of work his way up. And obviously now he's top 100 player, but he's a kid that grew up poor, grew up having to move from hotel to hotel room, sleeping on the ground, and he's really, I think he plays with that kind of chip on his shoulder, not just from his upbringing, but also from being kind of a unheralded recruit that was kind of a last minute get for Alabama, and he's really just the guy that does everything. He's the perfect modern day back. He can catch out of the backfield. He can power through and be that goal line guy. He can make you miss. He sees his hole really well. He's got great vision, and he gets through the hole. Doesn't waste any time behind the backfield. I think when you're looking at Alabama's backs in the NFL, I think he's probably going to if he's not already the second best, I think he's going to be very soon. I think you got Derrick Henry, who's that leading the pack, but I think Josh Jacobs is right there behind him.
Talking with Tony Tsoukalas and Tyler Waldrop tonight, we're talking Bama in the NFL. Certainly appreciate you guys checking in with us on a Monday night. Got a deal going on right now. If you're watching the show, the first 5 $15 and over super chats, you'll get a $25 gift card at Bama, the Alumni Hall. So you can get Bama gear. I think it's a great deal, right? Hook us up with 15, we get you back with 25. So tons of gift cards back to the Alumni Hall. So super chats, $15 and over, we'll get a $25 gift card on us from BamaInsider.com. And I think you're right, Tony. I think when you look at a player like Joshua Jacobs and what he was in college and what he is now in the NFL, I mean, you're talking about someone that continues to carry that brand and I think continue that lineage of strong running backs from Alabama that are very productive in the NFL. Here's a show outline right here. If you're just joining us, we're talking about 3 things we've learned. We've talked about Marlon Humphrey and Josh Jacobs being ranked inside the NFL top 100 by the NFL Network. Moving on right now to more Bama in the NFL. And, Washington football, I think they're looking for a new mascot name. I think they're looking for some sort of a name. I believe it's going to take them quite some time to figure out what that name could be. And, what about the Washington Crimson Tide? I know people have floated that around just for fun, but I mean, look at all these guys on the roster. I mean, Cam Sims, Deron Payne, Hal Hintage, Jonathan Allen, Landon Collins, Reuben Foster, Ross Pierce-Baker, Ryan Anderson, Sean Deion Hamilton. It's pretty amazing that so many guys from the league are on the Washington football team. Tony, what's your take on all these guys? I mean, obviously some are still trying to earn their stripes and still trying to actually make the league, but I went through the actual roster. All these guys are legitimate still on the Washington football roster.
Oh, yeah, and I think, there's not a team. You've even seen Washington joke about it on Twitter about how much they love picking Alabama players, specifically Alabama defensive players. And you look down at that list, and it's practically the 2016-2017 defense right there. You've got Jonathan Allen, Reuben Foster, Ryan Anderson, Sean Deion Hamilton. All those guys not only are just Alabama players, they played together at Alabama recently. And so, if I didn't have an NFL team that I grew up rooting for, and I was an Alabama fan, I'd become a Washington fan just based on that's the whole Alabama team. So it's definitely kind of fun when they all land, in one place. I know Baltimore has a lot of players too. We talked about Marlon Humphrey, and they've seemed to draft a lot of Alabama players as well. But it's neat when you get to see players that played together at Alabama on the same team then get to kind of reunite at the NFL level.
Tyler, let's go to you and let's talk about a player like Reuben Foster. What type of player do you think Reuben Foster could be? At Alabama, he was a wrecking ball. I'm a 49er fan. He spent some time with the 49ers. Obviously, didn't work out. Now he's with Washington football. I mean, do you still have hopes that Reuben Foster could emerge into, a quality linebacker, or is the writing kind of on the wall to what type of player that he's going to be? And I'm curious to get your take on that.
Oh, no. And I remember watching that draft when the 49ers pick Reuben Foster. The fact that he's even still around to go that late was mind-boggling to me. I remember, I think that was my biggest takeaway from the first round that year, that just Reuben fell that far. But I don't think anyone's writing Reuben off because of his talent. And if they are, they obviously haven't watched him play. I think he could be potentially the biggest game changer on that whole defense. And, Ruben just has to take care of business off the field and get back out there and play. But I think it's only going to take 1 or 2 games once he's back out there to remind people why we had such high hopes of it when he went to the league and what he was like playing for Alabama. I mean, even in college, the only, obviously a different scenario, but it felt like the only thing that could stop Ruben from making a play is because he maybe played too hard the play before, and he hurt himself, maybe just hitting too violently, too hard. But I mean, he's built for the league. Absolutely. I think Ruben's going to have a great career again, as long as he can take care of what he needs to take care of and get back out on the roster and focus on playing. And I would have to imagine that's what he wants to do. I imagine he wants to get back out there and prove that he can play still.
Certainly not a candy striper, right, Tony?
Yeah, it's a maturity thing. I mean, I think, Tyler's right. He's got the talent, but, everyone in the league has the talent. And if he doesn't get things together, that talent is going to be surpassed by another Ruben. There'll be another Ruben Foster-like talent player. So I really hope he does get things together because, we've seen what he can do. We've seen how exciting of a player he can be. And I want to see that at the NFL level because I think he was basically an NFL player in college. And so the last thing I want to see is, this guy with this much potential and this just hard hitter that just is a fun football player to watch, kind of waste that talent. So hopefully, sometimes it takes that wake up call. And I think maybe, this might be the place for him. It probably helps having a bunch of teammates on the team to kind of help him get his, head right. They know him. They know how to talk to him. And so I'm thinking he's in a good place.
Tony, who's before we leave Washington football, though, Washington Crimson Tide, when you look at this overall, this lineup on Washington's team, who's the best defensive player on Washington's team from Alabama? That's from Alabama.
I mean, I really love Jonathan Allen. I really want to see how he continues to develop. I mean, just watching him in college, he just did some. I mean, the Superman sack, right? He seemed to do just freakish things for his size, and he's a leader off the field as well. And he's somebody that I just really want to see excel at the next level. So that's a guy that I'm personally excited about. But there's a lot of these players that I think can be game changers. I mean, Landon Collins is one of those. I like what we just talked about, Ruben Foster, and I love watching Ryan Anderson as well. So there's a ton of them there that I think can really be difference makers. Deron Payne, I didn't even mention him. And so I'm just going through the whole list, I guess, because
that's
all great.
The whole list is pretty much on the defensive side. You got Cam Sims.
I like the defensive side, obviously, a lot more than the offense.
Ross Pierce-Baker on the offensive side. All right, continue on the show. 3 things you learned. We've kind of moved through points 1 and 2. Point 3 coming up now. Chance Warmack, and this is from Greg Bell on Twitter. A league source with direct knowledge of tells the News Tribune that he will opt out of the 2020 season. What's kind of your take on that? We'll start with you, Tyler. I think someone's audio right now is kind of coming through, so make sure your audio is turned down on your side. I'm kind of getting an echo, but Tyler, let's start with you going to Chance Warmack deciding to opt out. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, at first it surprised me. You don't expect to see a guy that, especially a former Alabama player, that's going to opt out of the season. But I mean, statistically, that some guys are going to have to make that decision, just if not for themselves, for their family. Going and reading the story and doing some more research, it seems like Chance had someone close to him that passed away related to COVID-19. So obviously, I think I speak for all of us when I say, we deepest condolences to him and his family and everyone there. But I think you got to understand it, and I think most people do understand that some of these guys are, they're going to have maybe parents or older relatives that maybe they need to opt out for a year just because why risk it? And, I'm glad that the league is allowing these guys to do that and still offering some sort of money to make it through. Obviously not the money they're hoping to make, though.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens as the season progresses. And I think you're going to learn a lot from the baseball season, right? As the baseball season has just started, and then you kind of ran into the situation with the Marlins. They had to cancel a game, I believe it was today, and the baseball season just started a couple days ago. So kind of a pioneer in all of this COVID situation. And obviously, player safety and everyone's safety comes first. Tony, any takeaways on Chance Warmack deciding, to opt out, how it could have a ripple effect through other players and maybe even into the college football season?
It's just an uncertain time. So, each of these guys are going to have their reasons. And if they don't feel safe or they feel like they're jeopardizing their family members, and that's their decision, and they've put themselves at a point in their career where they have the ability to make that decision. And so you can't blame them. It's their decision to make. I couldn't tell you how the NFL season is going to play out or how the college football season is going to play out. And I don't think any of these guys really can. So it really comes down to a comfort. And if he doesn't feel safe, then you can't blame him for not wanting to do it, because, I can't imagine going into work and not feeling safe. So, that's just a personal decision I think a lot of players are going to have to make.
Absolutely. All right. Moving into two questions. And Tyler came up with this question. Which receiver will score more touchdowns? I feel you're asking about this season, obviously. Mm-hmm. Julio Jones and Amari Cooper. I mean, first of all, think about it. Two of the best wide receivers in the NFL are both from Alabama. I mean, Julio Jones and Amari Cooper, the season that they had last year, just ridiculous. Obviously, they're going to be in the NFL top 100, probably, the top 15 or something like that. We'll start with you, Tony. Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, who reels in more touchdowns in 2020?
It's tough because, I think Julio Jones is the better receiver, right? But then you got to look at, the offense they're going to be in. And I love the Cowboys receivers with Michael Gallup and now CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. There's going to be how do you guard that? And I know the Falcons have Calvin Ridley as well. I kind of want to go Amari here, but the only reason that would take me away from going to Amari would be the fact that maybe the other receivers also get touchdowns. But I think I'm going to stick with Amari because I like the offense a lot better. I think it's impossible to guard all three of those guys, and so I think you're going to get some open looks with Amari, and he's really going to take advantage of those. But it's a good question, and it's going to be close.
All right, Tyler, go ahead, take it. Who's pulling in more touchdowns, Julio Jones or Amari Cooper?
So I'm a little bummed. I kind of expected everyone to just go Julio in a landslide, and then I could kind of play devil's advocate and pick Cooper. Since Cooper arrived in Dallas, he's played 25 games. He has 14 touchdowns over that same stretch. Julio Jones also has 14 touchdowns. So I'm going to go with the offense I feel a little bit better about this year. And I'm going to pick the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys will probably score more points. And just with all those guys Tony named, and then you obviously have Ezekiel Elliott. And, I also just think, Julio Jones can dominate. He can get big yards and he's going to catch more balls, but he does seem to not score. And I think that's because when he gets out in the red zone, I think defenses just say, we're going to take Julio away from you as much as we can, no matter who else we leave open. And I think Calvin's benefited from that a lot so far in the NFL. So I'm going to go Cooper, but I don't feel super confident about it.
Hey, take a minute right now to thumbs up this video. We appreciate it. And make sure and subscribe. Turn on all notifications so you always get the Alabama Crimson Tide football coverage from the BamaInsider.com staff. How about let's do some trivia. All right. You guys ready for some trivia? All right. And this is for our fans out there. All right. And you can listen to this. If you're out there on YouTube, you have a few minutes to answer. We'll hook you up with a $25 gift card to the Alumni Hall. And if you're listening to our podcast, you can still chime in and I'll hook you up with something. But here's the question. How many current players that are formerly from Alabama play on the Baltimore Ravens? All right, so here's the question again. How many players that are on the Baltimore Ravens roster played at Alabama? All right, give you guys a second. Let that sink in. Now I'm going to come back to my staff and see if these guys can get it right. All right, so I'm going to start, okay? Just mention it in the comment box, and you might get the answer from Tony or Tyler right now, but I don't think they're going to get it. All right, hold on. We got a comment coming in. Okay, strike one, Michael. It's not 3.
It's higher than 3.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close. Okay, we'll let a couple more come in. Let me read it one more time for everybody. All right, so here it is. How many players that are formerly from Alabama currently play for the Baltimore Ravens? All right, Tony, gotta go with you. What you got?
Oh man, I
Come
feel
on,
like
you
I'm
got
forgetting
this.
something in my head. I'm going to 7.
You are wrong, Tyler.
5.
You are wrong. Oh my god. All right. Okay.
6.
Anyone else? Does anyone else? All right. You guys
All
ready?
right, I'm cheating now that
No. You know what? I'm not going to provide the answer. I want you, whoever puts the answer first in the comment box, you will get the W on this. So guys were close. And
I really needed that prize.
I got the answer right here. I have the whole. Tyler and I compiled this whole list. You guys are close.
Which makes it worse that I didn't get the answer right.
Yeah, how did you?
All right. So, all right. Moving on.
Oh, I know who I forgot. Okay.
Close to rounding it out. Tony, now that you know, right? You were close. I'm curious about this. Which rookie is going to have the biggest season in 2020? Which rookie from Alabama, of course, because we're talking Bama in the NFL on BamaInsider.com, will have the biggest season in 2020? Tyler?
You go first, man, because
okay, I mean, I'm going to take the easy one. I'm going to say Tua. I know there's concerns about his health, and I know that some people are, I know that there's doubt that he'll start right away. So how long does he sit? And Fitzpatrick is, decent quarterback, but I don't care about any of that. I think Tua is going to start by game 3 or 4. I feel pretty confident in that. And watching Tua play, I think once he gets out there, I think he's going to run away with it. And I think he'll probably win Offensive Rookie of the Year as long as he gets out there early enough. So I'm gonna make that my prediction.
It's kind of bold. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I will go with.
I mean, that's more than bold. That might be.
Yeah, I'm still like,
come back and
we don't
visit.
even know when this guy's gonna play, and Tyler hasn't fallen in the Rookie of the Year award. I like Tristan Pace, the commenter here. It's gonna be one of the 2 receivers. I'm just caught between which one I want, which passing game I like more. I might buy into I think before, maybe a month ago, I wouldn't have said this, but I might buy into the Drew Lock hype train and go with Jerry Jeudy, and that might be my pick. 6. Right. I know. I
By the way, hey, Bomb Edwards, hit me up at Kyle@BamaInsider.com. I'll definitely take care of you. Yeah, you knew it, Tony. As soon as you saw it was 6. So
I was close. I think I
was closer than Tony.
I think it's going to be
equally close.
I thought you said 8. Okay.
Yeah. All right, and those players are Anthony Averett, Bradley Bozeman, DJ Fluker, Mark Ingram, Marlon Humphrey, and Andre Smith. So those are your 6 players that played for the Baltimore Ravens. So fun having some trivia right here on Bama in the NFL. Got a couple more things that we're going to go through before we wind down the show. Thank you so much for following our content. If you're listening on to our podcast, thank you so much for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thank you very much for subscribing. We'll be back Tuesday night, of course, with our recruiting show with Andrew Bone. This is obviously so broad, but predictions about the NFL season. And I think this could be about if you have a favorite team. Maybe, how about this? Make a prediction about the team that you like. For example, I know Tony likes the New England Patriots. We talked a little bit about this before the show. Damian Harris. Maybe make a prediction about the Patriots. And Tyler, I forgot who you said that you liked. Did you even have a team? I forgot.
Yeah, I'll stick with Seattle. I'll win it. I'll stick with
Seattle. All right. Yeah. So do you have a prediction with the Patriots? You got a new quarterback. Is Damian Harris going to be your running back? Make a small prediction for 2020 for the New England Patriots.
I don't know how groundbreaking this is because I think, somewhat expected, but I think Damian Harris is going to make a bigger impact this year. Could actually be the Patriots' lead back, depending on how things shake out. Sonny Michel has been kind of, I'd say, just kind of average as an NFL back. He's been okay. He hasn't been great. He's been just, take what the offensive line gives. I think New England's going to want a little bit more than that. And we've seen Damian Harris kind of be a really complete back at the college level, and I think he can kind of be that dependable guy in Belichick's offense as well. So I'm going to say he has a breakout year and maybe even possibly becomes the Patriots' lead back.
All right, Tyler, you're up.
Okay, Seattle's pretty predictable, so I'm in the efforts to make an interesting prediction, because they're probably going to take one of the last spots in the playoffs and then beat a team and then they'll lose. So I'm going to say Seattle will sweep the 49ers this year. I'm going to stick my prediction to Kyle and say that Seattle takes both games.
I don't know which prediction was worse. Tua winning the Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, this guy.
Oh my goodness! I mean, you might have to go back to the NFL, school for training, because there's no way that number one, Tua is winning the NFL Rookie of the Year. I got a lot of respect for the guy. The guy's good, but that's not happening. And Seattle taking 2 from the 49ers, while that seems a little bit more feasible. No, I mean, the 49ers coming back with a ton of talent, and Jimmy G should certainly get it done. Really like what the 49ers have going on. I know, I like George Kittle. Hopefully, they can continue to keep him. Sherman, as he ages, he gets better. As he used to be for the Seahawks when he went with the dark side. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, thanks for the predictions. And thank you so much for everyone hopping on the show today. I hope you guys had a good time just Bama in the NFL. You can follow more of our coverage at BamaInsider.com. And in case you missed it earlier today, before the show, I dropped some nuggets at BamaInsider.com. Definitely go check those out. Those are team-related nuggets. Got some good intel on the Alabama Crimson Tide as they finished out their third practice going into the month of August. And, of course, we will be back tomorrow night as we have our show with Andrew Bone. So very popular recruiting show, and Alabama continues this monster month of recruiting. Who's next? Key targets. Andrew Bone's got the entire scoop in those nuggets that you crave right here on BamaInsider.com. We're coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, always talking Alabama football. Tonight is Bama in the NFL. Tomorrow night, we're talking Andrew Bone recruiting, and you can catch all that coverage on BamaInsider.com. Take advantage of that free 30-day promo code, which is simply Roll Tide. We'll catch you next time, and you can catch us right now back at BamaInsider.com. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for listening on our podcast, and we'll talk to you soon right here on our YouTube channel.